usual, I give all glory to God. Today we're talking about unity versus separation. The eternal theme of human history on earth has always been that of good versus evil. We see that in the stories and movies. The bad guys wear black and the good guys wear white, and we can tell them apart. And we generally define good behavior of that which is unselfish and supportive to other beings. Evil, its opposite, is then therefore defined as behavior which is self-serving at the expense of others. Underlying these opposing definitions is a common principle, and that is separation. Long before the time that original consciousness adopted human form, meaning when we came back into our physical body, we were in soul. Before that happened, and when we were back with God, all forms of consciousness knew that they were one. We all knew that we were part of an interconnected whole, which we call unity consciousness. Originally, humans were consciously connected to nature and to each other, just as animals are today. For example, after the enormous tsunami that hit Indonesia in December of 2004, massive numbers of dead humans were found, but no dead wild animals. Why? Because they were aware of the impending disaster and they headed for higher ground. The news media reported that a group of normally docile elephants tore their retaining stakes away from the ground and ran uphill towards safety, trumpeting warnings for others to follow. And as the tsunami struck, they started to recede. These same elephants returned and used their height and their strength to recover children from the floodwaters and carry them to higher ground. That's connection and oneness. But at some point in our human history, we decided to explore this concept of separation. What would that look like? At that time, we wanted not just physically separate bodies, but a real sense of consciousness separation from other people, the universe, and the divine. And we probably did a pretty good job at doing that. Already we had separate individual souls, spirit bodies, physical bodies. We decided to go all the way and made a choice to be born with no conscious connection to each other. In other words, we would be, for once, truly separate, independent entities while in these physical bodies. Even though we would still be connected to the whole, as all things are, we would not be consciously aware of that connection. Now we thought that would be quite the experience. Has it been? Now we learn a new thought that the original reason for individuality is so that the original creator, God, source, etc., can experience itself from an infinite number of viewpoints. God can look through each and every one of you and see life and see everything that's going on from a different viewpoint. We get to do that as well. How much more realistic would it be, we asked, if all the viewpoints were truly independent and creative, with their own attitudes of intelligence and free will? Since those days, long forgotten in the midst of time, people have been born into a world where separation is their reality. It's also a world where fear of lack can develop easily. And under adverse conditions, the will to survive becomes a will for survival. The idea that people have that there's only so many resources available for one's survival then creates the fight for those resources. We feel like we're in lack, and the only way we can get more is to take it from other people. The fear of being overpowered in a potentially dangerous environment can lead to the desire to gain power over others so that we can feel more secure in ourselves. And we see that happening in our society all the time. And so, with all this occurring, the negative underbelly of separation from source began to develop even stronger. People became more and more separate from each other over time by the harsh experience and the selfish drives of other people. That darkness of separation deepened even more. Because in a world of aloneness, when you're by yourself, where the next person can't be trusted, where can you turn? What can you trust? Nothing. Foreseeing these depths of darkness, the Creator has repeatedly sent individuals of great light into this world of humankind. Individuals who have come down here and shown people how to get out of darkness into love. And those would be the leaders of the major religions that I've mentioned to you. And if I meant to bring out that thing, but to see that God and the connection to each of the leaders sent them there for love. But most people take it the opposite. Western culture is most familiar with the mostly transformative teachings of Jesus, but other cultures have been given great teachers with great light inside of themselves to bring this message in ways that are best suited for them. Examples would be the Buddha, Krishna, Confucius, Lao Tzu, and many others. Today, the current chapter of human experience on earth is drawing to a close. Thank God. These are the days of what we could call the shift. Because the frequency of life on all this planet and all the planets is being raised so that a new chapter of life can begin. The old guard is moving away. And we are moving into what we call the fifth dimension, a higher reality of vibrational energy that we're going to live in. And it's happening right now. The new children being born today resonate to the frequency of this new consciousness. They chose at this particular time to come down to help us. And we chose to be here to also help and receive that help for others. The world is changing for us, sometimes in hidden and mysterious ways. And we are progressing steadily toward the very birth of a new reality. And that new reality, beloveds, doesn't mean just within our own lives, but the planet as a whole, which is why Mother Earth is going through all the changes as she's going. We have no idea what it's about, how it's going to end up, but we got to trust the process, even for us, that things are changing. So now we're going from separation to relationship, which is what we want more. Each of us is the center of the universe. Can you comprehend that? That you can be the center of this universe? The light shining from you is important. Everything that we experience in our life is happening inside of us, not outside. We pay too much attention to the outside stuff, the outside things, and what does it mean about us? No, instead of remembering, oh, it's only a reflection of what's going on with me, I better go back inside of me. What's my thoughts? What's my emotions? The world as we know it is a manifest projection of our thought forms. No more, no less. And as I said to people last time, here's the new little bumper sticker. A new thought, a new you. How's that sound? That's what life is about, having a new thought, creating new thoughts. That's what new thought is about. It is not static. It's not something that sits here, because new thought says, it's a new thought. You can have a new thought anytime. Just because I'm up here talking doesn't mean I'm the one that has control over all of it. Each and every one of you has a new thought all the time. And it's part of the shift, and it's part of the movement going forward. So you need to stay awake to it. This world is thought up of by each of us. We are slavishly devoted to the ego's notion that we are our bodies, that we are our names, that we are our experiences that we go on, that we are merely specks of dust surrounded by a huge universe over which we have no control. And that's what we think, then that will be our experience. But that's not what we want, is it? There's another way of viewing this world through which we will recognize that our life force is limitless, because we are one with an unlimited God. So everything that goes on for us keeps going, keeps changing. We keep changing. No matter what we have done in the past, no matter what we do now in this moment, we are these wondrous temples embodying the glory of God. How does that sound? To feel like you are a temple of God shining through you. Any situation seen through the light of this kind of understanding is miraculously transformed. A new thought, a new you. So what I want you to do is close your eyes right now. And for a couple of minutes, imagine yourself as you appear in this world. See yourself in your physical body, life around you. And now I want you to see a golden light that radiates from your heart. It expands beyond your body. This golden light goes out further and further, and it casts the light over the entire world. And as that light's going out, I want you to imagine someone standing next to you, friend or foe, whoever's the first to pop up in your mind. And see that same light within that person that you saw in you. It's coming from their heart, and it's going out over the whole world. Watch that light as it grows to cover his or her body and extend beyond it. Now I want you to see that light in the other person as it merges with the light in you. On the level of spirit, there is no place where others stop and you start. Can you see that? That the light with you connected to this other person, there is no separation. There's only the one light. Hold on to that as you bring your eyes and consciousness back to here. And know from that experience right there that if you do this with anyone that you want to, your relationship with that person will subtly change. You don't have to make them change. Just visualize the light. Visualize the connection. You know, in that Christmas carol, you can bring yourselves back if you haven't. In the Christmas carol it says, "Do you see what I see?" There's a deeper question being asked than whether someone sees a physical child in the manger. Do you see what I see refers to a question of consciousness, how we look at things. As I've said before, to see as God sees, to know as God knows. That's what we're talking about. Do you see the spiritual reality that I just said to you? The light that God is there all around? Can you grasp it and imagine it? Because if you can, then the possibility exists for you to have everything that you want in your life that comes from God and from light. When we realize that we're not who we think we are, that this world has taught us a huge and unholy lie, we begin to realize that other people aren't who they are or who appear to be either. And neither are our relationships. For our spirits, we are not separate, but one. And we think we know who we are and who other people are, but they're not. We forget. We look too much at base life stuff. An idea that we have does not leave its source. And if I tell you that you are an idea in the mind of God, then what does that say? You are in God's mind. I've talked about this before, how you can visualize, I'm in the mind of God. How would I see things? How would I think? You are an idea in the mind of God. That's why you cannot be separate from him or her. And this world, beloveds, that you experience is an idea in your mind, which is not why it's not separate from you. We're like sunbeams thinking we're separate from the sun, or waves thinking that we're separate from the ocean. I mean, think about it. When you're on the beach and you see all the sands, are they separate from each other? No. The waves coming in are not separate. They're all connected. Everything in nature is connected. This idea of separation is just a hallucination. It's something, as I said in the beginning, that we all as human beings decided that we wanted to experience that. Well, we've had our experience and I don't think it's done very well. So it's time for something new. Oneness. Connection to God. The illusion that we're separate is the source of all of our pain. We really need to take that in. Any pain that that's going on physically, mentally, emotionally, within our body and our lives, comes from an idea that we're separate from God, that we can experience pain. The ego then suggests that, well, you have an empty space in your life, fill it up with a special person. But that's just a corrected sense of relationship to one another. That's not necessarily the truth. Just think about it. In fact, if you're already one with everybody, yet you think you're not, then imagine how many people you subconsciously miss being with. Think about that. You could have a connection with more people in your life just through oneness than who you have right now. Feeling separate from love, we feel a panic deep inside of ourselves. Because that's the core of who we are, is love. We know what it is. But so often we miss it. And we feel the pain of the loss of that love or that separation from that love. And when we get back to love, the love of God, feel how that light just shines so strongly inside. Just as the earth is moving so fast we can't feel the speed of it anymore, our hysteria is so deep we don't even hear our scream anymore to say, God, is this all that's really true? Is this all that's available? Is this all that my life is about? Those thoughts that we have permeate our being. They demand that we do something to lessen the pain. And God knows that we try in many healthy and unhealthy ways. We keep trying to fill the hole we fill up with things. Maybe if we buy this or do this or get involved with somebody or this, I'll feel better. Maybe for a little bit we might. And then we feel the pain again. It's not because of anybody or anything. It's because we're missing that connection with God inside that we know we can have. We know that surrendering to our life, to love for our life and for God is the only thing that can make us whole and help us remember that we are whole. And always there's an anger that goes inside that the separation engenders. Our anger at feeling separate. We start to blame ourselves. Maybe something that we're not even consciously aware of, that we're totally separate. We don't consciously aware of it, but we sometimes feel what it is. But you know what? In our oneness with God, there's no escape, for He has sent the Holy Spirit to reunite our hearts, to correct our thinking. The I am consciousness that I'm here to talk about can dismantle our thought system based on fear and replace it with a thought system based on love. Think about that, beloveds, if we had that for everybody in this world. Let's just start with here. If we were connected to everybody in this foundation, this fellowship from love, even more so than we are now, just see us go out into our community and we connect to one another through a thought system based on love. We talk to people that way. And then we go to the state of New Mexico, and then the United States, and the world, all the people all around the world. If we had a thought system based on love, every place in this planet, what would it be like? It's possible, and that's what we're moving into. This new mind that we have that's growing awaits us in this next stage of our evolutionary journey. That's what we are, beloveds. We're on a journey of evolving more. We're being challenged by the forces of history to grow into this mind of the Christ consciousness and the oneness. That's what Jesus had, was that new mind. They called in Him the Christ mind, as did Buddha and the others. Here, we call it the I am consciousness, the oneness of God within. It is the mind which is overshadowed by God, our mind which has become one with His. Again, our new thought is saying, I am one with God, all the time. This state of enlightenment is the exaltation of our existence, the uplifting of our human consciousness to such a place that we manifest at last what God wanted for us in the beginning. When we look back at the Garden of Eden, and God said, all of this is yours as long as you stay connected to me. And we gave that all up. But now we're working on getting it back. We're working on Revolutionary Journal of the Oneness with Source. And when we do that, when we realize that we're not just like other people, but actually we are other people. What does that sound like? We are other people. I am you, you are me. I am the Christ, you are the Christ. Then when we see that, we begin to find life outside of this realm of love no longer acceptable. It doesn't feel good. Maybe there's people I've been around that aren't connected to love that I don't want to be with right now because that's their energy. Or things that I did to try to help me love myself more that didn't work. Whatever. Anything outside the realm of love is no longer acceptable. It becomes literally unthinkable. And then when it becomes unthinkable, guess what? It ceases to exist because you've created a new thought, a new you. How many times have you seen a pattern in your relationships that you felt powerless to change? How often have you desired or despaired of breaking free of self-sabotaging behavior? How deeply have you panicked at the thought that you might never get it right? I keep trying, but it doesn't feel like it's going right. We feel the loss of that. Our despair and our panic are natural responses to the relationship drama that we've ended up creating in our lives. But our tears are not what we think they are, because the predicament itself is not what we think it is. What separates us from others is not codependency or neediness or any other mere psychological issue. What it is love. Our barriers to love. In a dark and insidious way, that barrier holds dominion, and it's temporary, though wicked, over the mental functioning of this child of God. So that's the thing we're missing, beloveds, is deep, unconditional love of God in every cell of our bodies. Our concentration on the form of fear is a ploy by our ego to keep us stuck in the problem. To say, oh, I tried, I did this, but it didn't work. Or blah, 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 whatever excuses and reasons we come up with. It's like finding a thief in your house and saying, wait a minute, I have to know his last name before I call the police. Who cares? Call for help immediately. Same thing, something's going on, call for help. God, let me wake up to you. Let me wake up to love. The ego is our deepest enemy, masquerading as our closest friend. How does that sound? It says, yes, I'm here for you. It's nothing we should fear, however, because the moment we recognize it as a mental miscreation, the moment we recognize it as a false belief about who we are, it will disappear. It's like telling it to go into the back seat. I'm now the driver. Just sit there and don't say nothing. We ourselves cannot command its departure because in some ways it's taken over our will and confused our defenses. But it's like an immune system disease that attacks its own cells. The ego starts attacking the mind, thinking that it's giving life to it. It's doing something good for us. But it's not. The truth is, in the final note, only God can help us. And God is love. And only love can help us. So starting this moment, beloveds, know that you're on an evolutionary journey of love. And we're all supporting each other through love to get to this place where the light of love is just like, and visualize the whole world being that way. That's what we're doing right now. How wonderful it is. Namaste.